Hello and welcome to everybody. I'm Tom Mills with Sunil Joshi, here to talk to you about social learning today. And as this is right at the beginning of the hour, we're going to take a couple seconds and let everybody kind of filter in here. But we'll give you a couple minutes of kind of just talking about what ISChamp is and what we do. So let's go ahead and start with that today, and that'll give you a little bit of time for people to kind of filter in as they get back from lunch on the East Coast. All right. So we are ISChamp is a certified SumTotal partner. We have all the tiers that they offer, I believe. They do change it from time to time. So, but we can implement your systems. We can show and demo things, and we can take care of you from a user. We can do administration, we can do help desk, we can do everything around SumTotal. We also do other products as well, but quite frankly, SumTotal is our favorite product at this point in time. They have put together really a large effort in building out their product to be today's product, not yesterday's product. And as I talk to people about SumTotal, I talk about the infrastructure that they have in place that makes it a lot easier for them to put out changes and modifications to make things quicker to market. Quite frankly, because of the way that their database is designed. I know not a lot of you like to get into database design, but those are things that excite me about it, because I can see how quickly they can turn around products and make modifications and meet the current needs, just because they have a product that doesn't have to be rewritten from scratch each time. So that's my 2-second sales pitch on SumTotal. That's really not what we're here to talk about today. We have some products as well. What we do is consulting, integration services, implementation, support. That's all the stuff I talked about at the beginning. Administer augmentation. We have some products. We have a badge reader that'll let people check into ILT courses, check into ILT courses that are other events. And we have some things that kind of take care of some curriculum removal tools that's just a little bit of makes it a little quicker to do administrative functions within SumTotal. And then we have a bulk ID change tool for SumTotal as well. That's not coming soon, that is here today. So we need to change our website. Okay, I'm Tom Mills. I'm president of ISChamp. Basically, I've been helping businesses align and implement their business strategies for 30 years. We've been focusing on SumTotal Learn since 2011. I've been doing enterprise change as a leader for many years. I actually probably had, when you hear the security pen tests, I actually did one of the first ones. So back in 1995, I believe, and came up with the term enterprise security architecture at the time. So some really, I like being out in the front and thinking about things in the future. We have some Sunil Joshi. Say hi, Sunil. Tell them a little bit about yourself. How about that?
Hello, everybody. My name is Sunil Joshi, and I'm a senior consultant with ISChamp. Tom and I have been working together for almost, now, a decade. And yeah, I'm currently involved in LMS consulting since 2003. And in my past life, I was a programmer, trained as a computer programmer, civil engineer. So I always focused on how to optimize, processes and how to make it better and more affordable. The solutions should be more affordable to whether you are a trailblazer or a pioneer, or you are just joining this new technology like everybody else. So I'm always looking at the strategic solutions for my client to how they can implement it better, faster, cheaper. So that's my passion, and Tom and I work on the same way. So we are a great team. Uh, so that's my introduction. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, I've been on mute for a few seconds here. So, what is social learning? Can you guys hear me? Sunil? Is anybody there? Say something in the chat. I lost. Okay, I lost. Looks like I lost Sunil's voice. Okay. All right, let's go back and recap again because I think I was talking with my microphone off. Presentation. There we go. Okay, what is social learning? So social learning is about employee engagement and more. And a lot of times we sit back and ignore this piece. Learning doesn't have the, quite frankly, the business doesn't take learning as a strategic component. But I'm here to tell you today that it's strategic. It can be strategic if you make it strategic. So what we're talking about is making this an employee engagement tool that it becomes a strategic tool in what you do with your business. So what is it? So it's about community. It's treating your entire user base, your entire user group, your employees as a community. That everybody has something to be learned from. they can share and we can learn from. The little pieces of data that they have in their head that they think they see go wrong every day. You know, I didn't mention this, but I was an IT auditor for many of those years. And a lot of times the way I found out what was going wrong in an organization was to ask everybody. I would spend some time with key people throughout the organization and come up with what things were going on in the organization that it could be a little bit better. What gives them the biggest headaches at night? What keeps them awake? What keeps them from being totally efficient? And believe it or not, usually there was a control issue at the basis of all that. So as an auditor, that was kind of one of the first big red flags I'd have. So I see social learning as a way to engage your whole team to get better information from all of them. So from a system perspective, on the SumTotal side, what can you include? Well, it can be text, it can be reports, it can be discussions, it can be video, it can be YouTube, it can be PowerPoints, it can be Word documents, Excel documents, so e-learning pieces, books, you name it, it probably can do it and store it. If it's electronic, we can store it in the database. If it's external link, we can link to it externally. So that's kind of the power of what's in SumTotal. You know, it used to be that their tool was a course discussion. You can still do course discussions where it's limited and you can talk about what's going on in your course, what's going on. You know, you can set up discussion questions and have people work through discussion as they're taking the course and having questions and feedback coming back. And so you have a very good feedback loop for that. And questions can be added and you can take those questions and make your course better. That's great. So that's great. But that's just e-learning, right? So what? So why is this important? Well, what can you take to your CEO, your COO, or your executives in your organization? What if I told you that the social learning could have direct operations benefit, marketing benefits, employee engagement, leadership development, communications, employee retention, community? What if I said you could, what's in this system can help you communicate better? And I probably should put in there benefits for the employee, because you know you can do your open enrollment that's coming up here in the next month or so. You know, here we are in late September. You're ready for your annual enrollment, but all the documentation for that, all the meetings and so forth, or pieces and tidbits of that, all can be put on the LMS in a discussion document where questions can be answered either privately or they can be answered publicly for the benefit of all. And that's kind of the reason for having this, is to have the benefit for all. All right, I'm going to take a quick second here and grab a quick little drink here. Question I have for you guys: are you guys hearing me? If you can go ahead and type something in the chat, that would be great. Sunil, can you hear me? We lost you for a second. You are on mute. Okay, you're still on mute, but we're going to move on. All right. So back to the PowerPoint we go. So innovation. How many times have you heard your CEO talk about how we need to be a better, more innovative company? Where does that come from? Well, it's communication and somebody taking notes in that communication, right? It's not hallway conversations or, setting up the facilitation of places to go talk about innovation don't necessarily exist. We don't say, oh, today we're having the innovation meeting. Everybody come and attend. No, what we can have is forums through communities on our learning platforms and the social communities. Now, it doesn't mean everybody has to be involved. One of the aspects of the communities are they have an owner who can invite participants, open up to the public, make them private groups, make them defined to a job description, a organization, a group of 6 people that were on the special committee. You name it, you can kind of limit who attends. Now, with that said, is how do you want to get innovation? You may want to put a few people on some teams to talk about certain topics. We're having a problem with the flux capacitor, and we, engineering and the sourcing department may need to talk about their supplier, or what's going on with something is breaking. So those things can be kind of put together. I mean, so that there's online collaboration. A lot of times, there's other systems that do that, like SharePoint and your ticketing systems, but this is another place to kind of do that. And it's all included in the one price you're paying, at least on the SumTotal side. So innovation, how do you get there? You put some ideas out there and let people talk about them. And that's an operation efficiency, maybe even marketing thing. Product development. Okay. Not the best picture of a Post-it note, but I think you may have heard the story of the Post-it note and how it was developed. And that's because somebody had this sticky, he's supposed to be building the super glue that was supposed to hold better than anything else. And it didn't, but it would all come off when it was pulled up. Well, so they found a use for it. And today we have these things called Post-it notes. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty happy about it because I've got them all over my desk as I try to play with them now. So that's one thing that might come out of this is what's the use for something that we have out there that we hadn't thought about, or I'm using the product in this way. And so as we find out about those things, or somebody in your help desk finds out somebody's using the product in something totally different way than you ever thought. And they can kind of put a note, they can put a note out there, and hey, here's unique, you can have a community of unique ways to utilize our product. There you go. And that wasn't supposed to be ringing. And that's supposed to be a silent ringer. All right. Live, right? All right. Documentation. So how many times have you wanted to know how something was built and you go back and somebody's in charge of doing the documentation and that person really didn't do a great job with it? You could do a collaboration using social learning to find all the ins and outs of your documentation. Collect all the documents and say, hey, I've got a video. Somebody may say, hey, I've got a video of that I took when we were building this, and attach that. That could be part of the documentation. It could be the formal specs and all the pieces to it, so that this becomes something living and breathing. Again, SharePoint does some stuff like that. Typically, a lot of these things becomes kind of so standalone that it's hard to search for that information. But once you and so in the case of this, I would say you build the documentation, and from a SumTotal perspective, you would put a learning activity called documentation of Honda Owner's Manual, 1979. And so when you did your enterprise search, it would actually pop up in the matter of, you know, milliseconds and come back with all the Honda documentation and for 1979. And so that would be one of the ways of using it. That would be more of a document repository. Best practices along with documentation. How are we doing things? How are we doing things better? Different people have different ways of doing things, and sometimes they're more effective than others, but we don't talk amongst ourselves and really make these things a global fit within the organization. So if somebody finds a better way of doing it, it's siloed with that one person or the group of people he's with. And it's only by word of mouth that those things pass along. But if we come back and we give some credit and maybe do some gamification with it, give some award points and so forth, we'll get some people who will provide, you know, hey, I got a best practice for this. I think this is really cool. And it actually does a nice job in employee engagement, in that we're rewarding them by publicly rewarding them and by saying, hey, that's a great idea. And, you know, there's some nice social proof that they get from that. So that's, you know, again, those things all can be mined in that best practice category, and through the different threads, you can pull that information out. But it's engaging your employees and continuing to engage your employees that makes this all worthwhile. So Andy Andrews has a story in his book. I forgot what the book is. Okay. The Little Things. But he talked about how this guy in South America worked on a banana farm, banana plantation, and they got paid piecework in peeling bananas to be processed. And he wasn't making a very good living at the time. He wasn't very fast at it, and he never won like a bonus for being the quickest banana peeler, in which they would give out a $500 per prize or something like that each month. Well, turns out he went to the zoo one day, and it was watching how the apes were peeling the bananas. And you know, that stem at the top is not the way that the apes peel the banana. They peel it from where the seed is back, and the seed's on the bottom, what we would classify the bottom, which is really the top as the plant grows upward. And so he saw how fast that they opened up the bananas and pulled out the fruit. And he went back and implemented that at work, where he became the #1 banana peeler, earning that bonus each month for month after month for the best practices that he learned from the apes at the zoo. So we can learn from anybody, and we learn from everybody, and sometimes everything. So having that available to us in providing those common places to put best practices allows us all to be able to function with that. The other question I have is, why didn't the other banana peelers adopt his way of peeling bananas so that they would go back and be able to peel bananas faster than themselves? Yeah, anyhow, it sounds like I should be doing some jumping jacks here. Book clubs, okay? Employee retention, things that help make your employees better by giving them a chance to learn about things themselves, talk about things themselves. If you're a programmer, you might want to talk about the newest version of SumTotal, or, you know, put SumTotal out there, PowerPoint, or whatever it might be. Tips, tricks, and techniques that could be a best practice. It could be a book club. It could be, discussing, upcoming theories in your book club, or it's just gonna be fun. And when you put those things out there for people, you know, it gets them going to the learning management system. And every time you have somebody going to the learning management system, and if you can get them going there every day, it provides, it's a tool that's working. We have many tools that don't work because it's hard to find things. If you give them a chance to have something that's easy to use and easy to find things, they'll use it. All right. I'm going to take a quick second. Sunil, do you have anything to add to any of these things? You're on mute, though. Ah, okay. So Sunil's saying he can't get off mute. Let me see if I can take you off mute, Sunil. Oh, I can't even unmute you. See if you can unmute yourself now. All right. Any questions from anybody? Okay, I'm moving on here. And I get a quick drink of water here. All right. So, marketing. So, what if you worked at a famous soup company and it's the summertime and you're seeing your sales slump for the summertime? And you know, you've been trying to figure out what to do with that. Could you go out to your employees and say, hey, what are your best what are your best cold hot weather soup recipes? And maybe even offer a prize for it, or put them out there, and at some point maybe even catalog them and give away the recipes for people going in, or push it out as social content on social media. Basically trying to drum up some additional marketing assets for the cold uses of cold weather soup. Because, you know, if I go back from the initial picture, you see a bunch of people who collaborate. You know, our minds are not just limited to those few people in the organization this way who are in charge of marketing, but can be there to provide input from the whole organization. So that's one of the beauties of social learning. And there's other, like I said, there's other products out there that does it. Do the same things. Cost improvement. So I think I may have mentioned, and it may have been that I went through in the practice and mentioned this. So let's see if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But back in when I first started out, I worked for a company that had a cost improvement program, and they would come by quarterly and pass out these things of all the other cost improvement ideas that were approved and implemented in the organization. And they would pass around this whole stack of paper that everybody had to read through and kind of see if there was anything in there that would interest them or apply to where they're at. And by doing that, they were able to take good ideas that were implemented in the East Coast and propagate them to the Midwest and the West Coast in their organization by maybe altering the ideas or stimulating ideas for others to do in their area to knock down the cost and make the company more profitable. They actually had a reward program with that. I would suggest maybe just doing gamification for ways to improve the organization and structure. It's amazing how many people know what's wrong, but sometimes aren't willing enough to step up and say, hey, this is wrong. You could do it this way. It would be a whole lot cheaper for us to do it this way. And, one of those small changes could save millions. So again, efficiency, those go back to those topics that I talked about in the very beginning, how they can impact the whole organization by having social learning, having something that is available to us that allows us to collaborate across a wide area. All right, next slide is data curation. So all that information is now stored in one place. You've got book clubs, you've got community, you have innovations, all that stuff could be mined. Data curation techniques are out there for pulling data out of just about anything. And so once you've stored it in somewhere that you can get to and has stored it in a common format, you can start looking for keywords and so forth that might give you a better idea. Might give you a better idea who your employees are. Might give you an idea of what ideas you're missing on, what ideas you can do innovation on, and certainly where you need to do best practices and those type of things. So that's data curation. The other thing you can do is your social events, your social calendar, things that are happening in the organization. This would be one that would probably be open to everybody. And, you're talking about Christmas, you're talking about the United Way, you're talking about sports they may be involved in, or if you have some sort of sporting sponsorships out there, you can put that in there. But the whole idea here is getting people, your employees, more involved with the things that you believe in, and sometimes finding out maybe more. And that gets us to identifying employee passions. Sometimes your employees have passions out there that align with your mission, vision, and values that you're not even aware of. And you can provide them some additional supports if you know about them. And especially if it meets, within your market, your marketing and marketplace. So if you're selling motorcycles and you had the guy who did motocross all the time, hey, it might be interesting to kind of support your own employee as he does motocross. Those type of things. So that's my avatar picture of identifying your employee passions and maybe utilizing some of those stories to help benefit your organization. By the way, if you set up your employee sponsored events, so say it's Habitat for Humanity, and you're sending employees are taking time off work, or even if they're doing it on their own, you can have them report into and how much time they spend on that and collect it within the learning management system. And at the same time, be able to report that out as a benefit to your whole organization for the community. And again, that gets back into marketing. It also gets into employee retention and job satisfaction and community, like I said, community involvement. All right, that gets us to the end of the slides I prepared. Hopefully this hasn't been too much death by PowerPoint, but anybody have any questions that are online? Go ahead and throw those out in the chat. So Neil, it's going to be pretty hard for you to demonstrate something if you can't talk. Let me see if I can, as I wait for a couple of questions here, I can see what I can do about if I can free you up at all here. Hold on. All right. So we're probably going to cut this short and not do Sunil's portion. There was a reason for kind of we've actually changed what we're doing here. And we were going to show you a lot more of SumTotal features today, but we've just seen the 18.3 release of the social learning, and we think we're probably doing you a disservice in showing you that environment in depth. I can show you some pieces to it today, and we can kind of talk through it a little bit, because I won't kid you, there's a lot. SumTotal has been on a tear with implementing new functionality, and social seems to be the key functionality this year that they're really focusing on. And with each of the versions this year that they've put out, they have put out increased flexibility, increased capabilities within their social learning platform. So let me just see if I can. Let's see, is that my screen? Oh yeah, it is my screen, I think. I hope you're right. That did open another window, Sunil, earlier. All right. So that's the videos that are on demand. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Social communities. All right. So, so one of the things that they've been doing is giving you a dashboard of what's out there in the social communities. And here's all the things I'm a member of. This person's an administrator. And I can see all of the open or non-private workspaces I could join. So I could have I have a team room over here. I have the Learning Governance Council over here. I've got some other things that have been set up. So if I go to this Learning Government Council, this is, what a social community looks like in SumTotal. You can see you can have discussions, you can do blogs, you can add files. You can say, here's all my content. And it can tell you all the members who are members of, I think we look like that guy looks like Harry Potter. There are all the members and what their function is. So you as an administrator or the owner can modify privileges based on that. So people can be dropped in and out of teams as you wish. And based on what they need to do. Curation type is involved as well in this. You can see that this is this is a video. Right? Doing a quick video, and this is the first look of from SumTotal that we did a little while ago. So I'm gonna pause it because we don't really need to go into that right now. Let's go back. And so I can also put files in this. So here's the SumTotal What's New document. I can download that to my desktop and see it. That's the 18.2 version of it. And let's see, what do we have in here? This is a blog post. And I can add a new blog post onto it or a new discussion onto it as well. And I can rank the my ranking. I can put it right here and say, oh, it's the great community. I can save, and then we can evaluate the communities based on what their star levels are, or at some point, do we replace them or not do anything? I can also leave the community if I don't really find that that's what I want. And since I was the editor of this, I can delete it, or I can edit it and add some additional items in. I can do a table, I can do add a file, and I can do an embedded, you can do an embedded link here. And basically everything you could do in WordPress or another tool like that. This is all secured within your LMS. I can start a new discussion. I can add new files and add new blogs. Again, all my discussions. Since I'm kind of the person who did everything in here, it's kind of you'll get to see pretty much everything, but I can take people and remove them. I can the owner, as I'm Chris Allen, right? Yeah. I can edit their privileges and make them the owner, additional owner, a moderator, or a contributor. We're going to leave everybody alone. All right, and I can invite more people to be involved. So this is how I would add additional users. So that's kind of the basis for this month. All this stuff is drag and drop in, and I guess I'll leave that alone. I can come through and you can see here's the privileges. I can change the name of it if I'm the owner, the banner images, and if it's hidden or not. If it's private, what things I want, enable, disable. If I make it not problem, or if I make it not hidden, then others can see this. I can see it because I'm the owner of it. That's where we saw it before. If I go back to social communities, if I hit this is my favorite, this now shows up over here. Let me take that off real fast. You'll see that it has none, and then as soon as I choose one, it'll put it as a favorite. And if I look at all, and if I want to join another group, Winning Ways, and I can join this group as well. And by hitting that button over there, join community, there we go. It's a 5-star community. All right. With that, we are at 43 minutes. And the question is, does anybody have any questions out there for us that we can answer, or anything they want to discuss? If not, in the chat. I know, Neil, you can't discuss anything. So I am going to end this now, and I want to thank you. Let me just go back to the slide deck real fast. I want to do a quick recap. That's what I'll do. Quick recap. And here's the products and services that we have at ISChamp. We have the bulk ID change tool for SumTotal, as well as a curriculum unwind and the badge reader. We do other services as far as consulting, integration services, implementations, administrator augmentation, and you can see the rest there as well. You can contact us at Tom@ISChamp. That's me. It'll get right to me. You can visit our YouTube channel and subscribe, or contact us at area code 317-604-0828. I do want to go back to one of my slides here. So as we went through those, I'm hoping you all follow along and saw where, by seeing, the other thing you can do is by seeing in either the badges or within just the communities themselves, how much participation each person does. And that's part of the leadership development. And it is a measure that you could use to determine leaders who are leaders within your organization, is see how much they're commenting on the boards. And by rewarding that, you'll also get more participation within your LMS and getting them used to going in and using it every day. We talked about direct operations benefits, marketing, employee engagement, leadership development, communications, employee retention, community. We threw best practices in there and a bunch of other things. But by having something that engages your employees and gets their thoughts and gets them communicating with each other, it provides a robust means for employee retention, employee satisfaction, and we all like to feel great and feel that we're listened to. And by doing this, it gives everybody an opportunity to help build your organization. With that, I'm Tom Mills with IS Champ. Thank you very much.